Hello, my name is Kelly Megan of KM Consultancy Services and KnowledgeMarket.ie. I'm a Microsoft Office training instructor and I've teamed up with TrainedIn to bring you a series of 3 webinars called A Taste of Word, and this is the second of those 3. Now this is aimed at those who are new to Word or don't have a great knowledge of Word but would like to know more. I'm using Office 365, the desktop version, but what I'm covering will apply to Word 2010 onwards. So I'm going to start off today working with bullets. And bullets are used whenever you have a list, but it's an unordered list. So I'm going to work with this text here. I've got this set of hot appetizers. So I'm going to highlight the text that I want to apply it to. So I'm going to click at the start of stuffed mushrooms, hold down the shift key and click at the end of hot clam puffs. I'm going to work with the bullets button from the paragraph group, but of course you could use that mini toolbar if you prefer. Now to turn on bullets, I simply click straight on the bullets button. Now, I know that's going to work absolutely perfectly, and you can see that it has done. It's a recommendation that I made yesterday, and it's a recommendation I always make, that wherever possible, type up your document text first and then go back and put on your formatting such as your bullets, etc. You will rarely have a problem with them if you work in that manner. But putting them on as you're working, you're going to find that they follow you down the page and you're constantly having to turn things off after turning them on, and it just makes life so much more difficult for you. So you can see putting on the bullets worked absolutely perfectly. Now, if I want to put in another bullet, I can simply click at the end of any of the pieces of text. I can press enter, and then it's going to put in another bullet, because when you press enter from a line, it copies the formatting from that line. So I know it's going to put that bullet in for me, and it's ready to go if I want to put in my text. If I want to put something in here that's just plain text like this, I don't want it to be bulleted, then keeping that selection beside the bullet, remember you cannot highlight a bullet, I just turn the bullets button off. And that's it, it just clears it straight down for me. Now I'm not actually going to put anything in, so I'm just going to undo once, twice, and it goes back to the way it was. If I want to put something in after hot clam puffs, same thing, I just click at the end of the list, press enter, I know that the bullet is going to come down, so I'm ready to put in another item. But again, if I don't want anything there, I'm just keeping the selection beside the bullet, and I just turn the bullet off, and I'm back to normal text, same as the text below. And again, I'm going to undo once, twice. So that's turning on my bullets. If I want to turn the bullets off, I can simply click at the start, click at the end, and click them all back off. And when I do that, I'm always checking up here just to make sure that they do come back to the left margin. That is one of the bugs that we have in bullets, is that sometimes when you turn them off, they don't go back to the left margin. They tend to stay indented like that. If that happens, you're just using your decrease indent button to bring them back out. But these work perfectly. And I'm going to pop back my bullets onto that. Now I've decided that I would like these bullets to be in sorted in ascending order. So I didn't put them in any order, I've just popped them in. But now I've decided I would actually like them to be sorted in ascending order. So I simply keep them selected. In the paragraph group, I go to my A to Z button, click onto that. Now when you're going to see it says sort by paragraphs. Each one of these is a paragraph because there is an enter or a return after them. The type of data is text, and I do want it to be ascending. Now this is the part that's important. None of these are headers, so you can see it's reflecting the fact that no header row is selected. I simply click OK, and that would fix it up for me. Now, I'm just going to undo that and show you that if I highlight from here, so I am including the heading, and I highlight that and then I go to the A to Z, everything else remains the same here, but the important part is to tell it that I do have a header. Because if I don't tell it I've got a header, it's going to sort that into the list, which is going to look totally wrong. So I just make sure I tell it it's got a heading, I click OK, and it'll leave the heading alone and it'll carry out the sort. So it's very, very easy to sort your data. I never worry about putting these things into order beforehand because I can do it afterwards. Okay, I'll deselect. Now I'm going to come down to the next area and I want to put more bullets on here. And this time what I want to do is I want to bullet shrimp cocktail. So I'm clicking in front of that down as far as cheese assortment. But this time I don't want to use the black bullets. I've decided I'd like to put on something completely different. So if I want to do that, I use the same button, but I go into the down arrow this time. And when I go into the down arrow, I'm going to see some bullets here from the bullet library. So bullets that are recommended by Microsoft. So if I find what I want here, then obviously I'm going to use them. But just going to show you how you could, if you wanted to, put on like more of a picture or, you know, anything really of your own choice. And to do that, you would come down to define new bullet. Now, when I click onto that, what I'm going to be looking for is a symbol. If you want to bring in your own picture, then you would have your picture on your machine and you'd bring it in through here and the size would be reduced down to bullet size. But I'm actually going to go through here for a symbol. So I'm going to click onto symbol and it's going to open up this area and this is where your normal bullets button comes from. I'm going to change over and scroll right down towards the end and I'm looking for the W's. And what I usually like to work with are either webdings, and webdings are these images. They're quite strong images. They look like they've got bold on them. And you've got quite a range of images in here. The other ones then are wingdings. And again, you've plenty of images in here to pick from. There's wingdings 2. And again, plenty of images in there. And then for the workplace, my favorite is Wingdings 3 because it's just a series of arrows and shapes that would be acceptable in the workplace. So I really like this one. But because we're not in the workplace today, we'll go to Webdings and we'll put in something completely inappropriate. Why not? I think given the time of year it is at the moment, I might go for a big spider. It's getting close to Halloween, so let's pick a spider. It won't be that big, I promise you. I'm picking the spider. I'm going to click OK, and I can see what it's going to look like there. I'm going to click OK again, and the spider is attached. And you can see it's tiny, so no need to worry. Now, I've decided I like my spider, but maybe I'd like the spiders to be a different color. So if I want to change that, I just keep this text selected. I go back into the down arrow here. I go back into define new bullet, and I'm looking for the font button on the right hand side. So I'm going to click onto that and I'm going to go into the font color area here. Now you can pick from the theme colors. So this is the Office theme, the white background, and these are all the colors that will match with that. But of course you could come into this area called more colors, and when you come into here, if you go to the custom tab heading, and if you have a company color and you know the RGB value, the amount of red, green and blue, you can always put that in here so that you can set your bullets to the company's color. Now, I think I'm going to just pick a shade of blue from here. So I'll pick a blue here, and this is needs to be just dragged down so that I can get it a little bit darker, and I think I'll go for that shade there. And I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click OK again, and I'm going to click OK again. And To me, that's even more frightening. A blue spider, I think I'd definitely be running. I don't know where that's come from. So that's my my own bullet applied to my document. Now, just to let you know that if you change the bullet and then you come down here and you apply the bullets to the next set of text. So I'm just going straight up and I'm going to click on my bullets button. Then you're going to see that by changing it, I've effectively changed the default for this document. Now, if I was to open a brand new document and start putting my bullets in, the bullets would be the black circles. But when you change it in the document, then you've changed it for what comes afterwards. So I'm going to click on the down arrow and I'm going to choose the bullets button, but you can see that it doesn't put the color back. So I'm going to have to go back in, define new bullet. I'm going to have to choose font and I'm going to have to choose the automatic font color, which is black. Click OK, and now it's back to normal. So just be aware that when you're working within a document, if you change the bullet style and particularly the bullet color, that you have to go back through the business of undoing that effectively to get it to go back to the default. Okay, so that's just dealing with our bullets, sorting our bullets and changing our bullets and then resetting the default. So now I'm just going to scroll down and we're going to take a look at numbering. So I've put out some steps here. We use numbers, we use the numbering feature when we have an ordered list. So when something has to go in order of 1, 2, 3, etc., that's when we change over from bullets to numbering. So I've got the steps written down here to save a Word document. So this is perfect for numbering. Again, I've typed everything up and I go back and select the text. So I click at the start, hold down Shift, click at the end, and I know that this is going to work perfectly because I've already pre-written the document. So I come up to the numbering button and I click onto it and my numbering is placed into the document. So absolutely perfect, no grief whatsoever. Now, if I wanted to add in another step, say after clicking on Save As, I make sure I'm clicked at the end of that. I press Enter. It is going to keep the same style and you'll see that the new one gets numbered number 4 and what was 4 is pushed on to 5, etc. So it's able to update it automatically. Okay, so it has a level of intelligence built into it. Again, if I don't want that number to be there, if I just want normal text, then I would just click the number button off and it would renumber itself again. So this has gone back to being number 4, 5 and 6. And again, I'll undo that. If I want to put something at the end of this one, then of course, all I do is click at the end, press Enter, and it will do exactly the same thing. It will bring the formatting with it, so it will automatically go to number 7. Same thing, if I don't want it to be numbered, I just want normal text like I've got here, then I simply click that button and it turns it off. So again, I'm just going to undo that once, twice to put that back to the way it was. Now, what happens if I decide I want to put some text down here? So if I click at the end of this text and I press Enter, and I'm just going to put in an extra step, and I've decided I'd like that extra step to be numbered. Now, personally, I would press Enter so that the next part is normal. Then I click back onto this and I'm going to put my numbering on. So I click on to, by the way, you notice I'm not highlighting this. It's enough just to click into the text because this is a paragraph feature. Both of these are paragraph features. They attach themselves to the paragraph. I'm going to click onto that and of course it's going to start the numbering again. It doesn't realize that I want it to be connected to the previous numbering. absolutely no problem. I simply bring my cursor down onto that. Now I do this on the right click, but it can be done through this little button here. The reason I don't tend to do it through here is that sometimes this is not available, whereas the right click is always available. So I do it with the right click and I choose continue numbering. And that's going to bring that number to number 7. Excuse me. So equally, if I decide for some bizarre reason that step number 4 should now be step number 1, so I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 and then 1, 2, 3 again, I just go to the text that's attached to number 4. Remember, you cannot highlight a number or a bullet. You've always got to deal with the text beside it. I'm just going to right click on the text attached to number 4 and I'm going to tell it restart at 1. I can now right click on this one and I could restart this one at 1. I can change my mind. I can right click on this, tell it continue numbering. I can right click on this one and tell it to continue numbering, and it all comes back together. So it's very, very easy to use your bullets and numbering. But most problems that I see attached to bullets and numbering come from people turning them on as they're working. I'm a great believer in type in and go back, then you won't have these formats following you down the page. Also, another common problem with them is working on old documents that go back to 2003 prior to that. Those documents were created in a different language than what Word uses now. And if you open up an old document and you try and apply these features to an old document, you start finding really strange things happening. It just causes mayhem. So you're better off, wherever possible, create your documents from scratch or copy and paste them from an old document into a new document and wipe all the formatting off. Remember, this little button here is the button for clearing formatting. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show you is how do I go about reordering the list? So let's just suppose I decide that actually I want to select the folder for the document before I give the document a name. So I want to spin these two around. Now, this can be done in a number of different ways. So I'm going to show you 2 different ways to do it. So one way is to use your views. So I'm going up to the View tab up at the top, and there's a view over in the Views group. So the Views group is over here on the left, and there's a view there called Outline, and I'm going to click on it. Now, you might have gone into this view, and generally it tends to scare the life out of people when they see it. But it's absolutely super when working with bullets or working with numbers. So you can see the numbered text here. Again, you can't work with the bullets or the numbers, so don't annoy yourself trying to select them. It doesn't work. What I want to do is to move this one, select the folder up. So you'll notice that each item has a little circle on the outside. That's what we work with. I place my cursor onto the circle to the left of number 5 and I get a 4-sided arrow. I click, hold down the click and drag up. Now when I drag, can you see that line? I've stopped where there's a line just above 4. That's where it's going to drop when I release the cursor. Okay, now that's my way of doing it. I like to click and drag. Not everybody likes doing that. So what you can do is simply click. I'm going to swap them back around again. I'll click into here and you can come up here into the Outline Tools group and this one will move it up. Okay, equally if I decide to move this up, and doesn't matter that it's separated by text, I'll move it up and I can then move it down, it just puts it back again. So it's very, very easy to work with this, or if you're like me and you just like clicking and dragging, you just click and drag the circle. Whichever way, it's really, really helpful when you have bulleted lists and you want to move things around. So I'm going to close out of that view. That's one way that you can move things around, but I'm going to show you how you can also do this using the keyboard. So again, I don't need to select the row. This is going to happen to the entire paragraph, so I just need to be clicked into the paragraph. And then to use the keyboard, I hold down the Shift key I hold down the Alt key together, and then I press the up arrow once and it spins them around. And again, I'll hold Shift, Alt and down arrow to bring that down. So just so you can see, if I click down into this one, it's Shift, Alt, up arrow. And although it very kindly highlights the entire thing for us, again, I'll just click into it so you can see it doesn't need to be highlighted. It's Shift, Alt, down arrow to put it back. So that's how I maneuver items around, whether it's in a bulleted list or whether it's in a numbered list. So that's our normal bullets and our normal numbering feature. So what I'm going to go to next is I'm going to scroll down the page, and I've got a list here, and I'm going to look at a multi-level list. So this is an area that causes huge amounts of grief to people. So I want to show you how you can put this together very, very simply. So what I've got is a list of vegetables, and then about halfway down it turns into a list of fruit. So before you create your multi-level list, and by multi-level list I mean that I want a list that's indented. So I'm going to have a heading with the number 1 attached to it. So for instance, vegetables will be a level 1 and it's going to have the number 1 attached to it. Whereas potatoes are a type of vegetable. So I want that to be indented and I want it to be 1.1. You can see that roosters are a type of potato, so I want roosters indented underneath potatoes. So rooster is going to be 1.1.1, Kerr's pink is going to be 1.1.2, and so on. Then I'm down to carrots, and that's going to be 1.2, and the ones then are going to be indented under that. So I can see I've got 3 levels, 1, 1.1, 1.1.1, and as I keep going down through this list, I will find I've only got 3 levels. So carrots will be a level 2. These are all types of carrots down as far as here. There'll be a level 3. Parsnips are a level 2. Broccoli is a level 2. Fruit will be a heading just like vegetables, so it's a level 1. Apples are a type of fruit. They're a level 2, but these are types of apples, so they're level 3. Level 2, level 3, oranges are level 2, and these are level 3. So I always work out first how many levels I need to work with, so that when I go in and edit them, as I invariably do, that I know how many levels I need to edit. So to set this up, I'm going to click at the start, I'm going to scroll down the screen, hold down the Shift key, and click at the end of the text. So I've got all my text selected, and again the same principle holds true. Get it all typed up first and then go back and work with it. Now the button that I'm going to use in the paragraph group is not the numbering button. For multi-level lists, it's this button. Okay, so this is the multi-level list button, and when I click on it, I'm looking in, and the first thing I'm going to do is look for the type of list that matches or as close as matches what I'm looking for. Now this is very much what I'm looking for, but so is this. So why would I choose one over the other? Well, you can see that this second one says heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. So this is only meant to be used if the text has these styles attached to it. Mine do not have these styles attached to it, so that means I need to use this. This is the one that should be used with ordinary body text. So it's important to make sure that you use the correct one. So I'm going to click onto this style, and when I do that, it's going to apply the level 1 to all of them. Now, the part that can get a little bit confusing is that when you look up here, it's the numbering button that looks turned on, but it's actually this button that we're working with. If I click onto that, you can see it's this one that has the selection in it. Whereas if I go into the down arrow of this one, there's nothing selected in here. So it's this button we're working with, even though this is the one that's selected, and this causes huge confusion. So everything automatically is a level 1, and now I have to push the items into their levels. So if I'm using the buttons, I would just click in front of potatoes, for instance, and I just choose indent. And that pushes it to the 1.1, the next level. If I click beside rooster and I click indent once, it goes to level 2. Click indent again, it goes to level 3. Now, I don't have to do them one at a time. I'm just going to highlight all these ones and I'm going to press once, twice, because they're all a level 3. Now, I generally tend to do this using the keyboard. So if you like using the keyboard, you click in front and you press the tab key to move it in. Then I'm going to highlight these and it's tab, tab. So I'm going to put parsnips in and I'm going to deliberately do parsnips wrong. So parsnips should be a level 2. I'm going to tab it on too far. And I'm going to put broccoli in at a level 3 as well. That should also be a level 2. Fruit stays as a level 1. So vegetables is 1, fruit is 2. This one, it's tab. And then I'm going to highlight tab, 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 and then tab, tab. So your tab key if you use the keyboard, your increase indent key if you prefer to work up here. Now I want to bring parsnips back. I'm just going to click in front of parsnips there, and if I'm using the ribbon, I'm using indent. So if I keep decreasing, it'll decrease back to a level 1. I'll just increase, it needs to be a level 2. If I'm using the keyboard, I click in front of broccoli. Sorry, just clicked a little too much there. Let's go again. There we go. And it's hold down the shift key while you press tab, but just make sure you're clicked directly in front of broccoli. Don't be in the middle of it or it'll split the word. And again, shift and tab would take me right back out to the outside, tab to come in. So your tab key to move to the right, your shift and tab to move to the left, and make sure your cursor, if you're doing individuals, is clicked in front of, not in the middle of the text. Now, that's great. Everything exactly where I want it. But to be honest, I'm not particularly happy with the distance between the level 3 numbering and the level 3 text. I'm very happy with what's happening here from the numbering to the word vegetables. I'm happy enough with this one, the level 2, but the level 3, number 1, I would prefer it to be lined up directly under potatoes there. And number 2, I don't like the fact that that gap is almost non-existent. If I keep adding in products and I get to 1.1.10, it's going to throw the text completely away from it because there just won't be enough room. So I'm going to alter that. Now to alter it, I don't need to go and select it all again. I'm just going to click into the heading vegetables. And this is where you've got to get your selection correct. It's this button, the multi-level list. Don't get pulled into this button. You go back into multi-level list and you can see it highlights the listing all the way down. Now that I'm back in here, I come down to this button here, define new multi-level list, and I click onto it. Now you'll notice that here on the left there are 9 levels of list. I've already identified I'm only working with 3, so I don't have to worry about 9. And really I probably only want to change 1 or 2, but if I just click onto 9, you can see that's what the 9th level would look like. So I'm going to go back to level 1. I'm using that. I'm happy with the number formatting here, but if I wasn't, this is where I would change it. Or if I preferred to change that number 1 to Roman numerals or ABC, I would change that here. Okay, but I'm happy with that. I'm happy that the number alignment is left and that it's aligned at 0. That means it's aligned at the margin. The text indent is at 0.63. Now I am going to change that. I'm going to make that just a tad bigger because I like to try and double things up, and to calculate that is just a bit of a pain. So I'm highlighting the 63 centimeters and I'm going to have that as 0.8. I do not need to put back in the centimeters. I'm happy with that. I don't click OK. I go to level 2. So level 2, this is what it looks like. I'm happy with that. The number alignment is left and the alignment starts at 0.63. Now I want my number to start directly under the text, and I've moved the text slightly to 0.8, so I need to set that to 0.8 to match it. So I'm happy with that. Again, don't bother typing in the CM. Microsoft takes care of that. I'm going to set this now to 1.6, and this is why I wanted to just change that. Trying to calculate 0.63 is a bit of a pain. So I'm happy with that now, 1.6 centimeters. I'm now going to go to level 3. So again, I'm happy with the look. The number alignment is left, but I want this to line up directly under the text potatoes. And that was set to 1.6, so I need to set this to 1.6 so they line up beautifully underneath each other. And I'm going to give this a little extra room, so I'm going to try this at 2.8. It's very easy to come back in and change it. If I think it's too much or too little, I just pop back in. So that's it. That's my 3 levels. I'm not worried about the others because I'm just not using them. I click OK and everything has adjusted. And again, I was only clicked into the first one, but of course it affects all of them. This is lined up beautifully under vegetables. This is lined up beautifully under potatoes. And if I want to add in another potato somewhere, it could be in the middle, it could be at the end there. I just click at the end, press enter, and of course it's going to update. Same if I want to put in another carrot type, it's going to update. I come down here, I want to put in another apple. And this is the beauty of using these features, is that it knows the numbering sections. So that's how I put the numbering on. Hopefully that's made this whole thing a little bit easier for you. Now, time is running down and I have one last little thing that I'd like to show you. And to show you this, I'm going to create a new document. So I'm going to come up here to my quick access toolbar and I'm going to click on new blank document, and I'm going to do what I did yesterday to put in some text. I'm going to go equals RAND open bracket, and I'm going to put in 4 paragraphs of 4 sentences and close the bracket, press enter, and I've got my 4 paragraphs in. So I want to show you a really lovely little feature called Quick Parts, and I find this incredibly useful in Word, in working with Word, so I'm totally sure you're going to find this a really useful feature. Okay, so I'm pretending that this is a letter that I've written up. I'm not bothering with all the headings, etc. I'm going to work on the ending. Now, every time I finish off a letter, what I do is I type yours sincerely, and then I press enter, and then I hold down my shift key and I put in my underscore to get my line perfect. And then when I press enter, it always goes to a full line, so I backspace to get rid of that. And then I'm going to type in Kelly Megan, and I'm going to put in knowledge market.ie, and what else will I put in? Actually, I will just put in training instructor. So I'm going to pretend this is the way I finish off my letters. So that's perfect. Now, not quite perfect actually. I don't like all the gaps that I'm seeing there. So I'm going to highlight that, and to get rid of those gaps, come up to your styles group and choose no spacing. If you don't want a gap between the line and the text, highlight the line and do exactly the same thing. Okay, so I'm nearly happy with that, and I think I might just put another enter in there. Yeah, that's great. So this is the way I finish off every single letter, and I am fed up typing this out. So what I want to do is create what's called a quick part, and a quick part is where Microsoft will store the information for me and then give it back to me so I don't have to type it out. And that's exactly what I want. Now to do that, I first have to type it up. I've got that done, so I'm going to highlight my data. I go to the Insert tab, and over on the right-hand side, there's a group here called Text, and you're going to see a choice there called Quick Parts, and I'm going to click onto that. Now, Quick Parts, you're going to see other choices in here, but what we're interested in is saving our selection to the Quick Part gallery. So I'm going to click onto that. Now I'm going to call this Sign Off. So this is the sign off that I use at the end of my letters. So the gallery it's going into, I'm going to leave it at the default Quick Parts gallery. The category it goes into is general, but if you ever need to, you can always create new categories. This is where you would put in a description. So this is where I would type in whatever I want to put in. I'm not going to put anything in because my time is running down. I'm saving it into building blocks. So quick parts are part of the building blocks feature of Word, and building blocks are pre-designed pieces of text by Microsoft and that you can drop into the document. These are called quick parts because we're making them. Now the choice here is to insert the content only, or I can say put it on its own paragraph, just in case I ever forget to press enter before I put it in. Click OK, and now that's sorted. So it now has a copy of it. So I'm going to delete that off the screen, and I'm pretending now I've just typed up this letter and I've got to the end of my document, and now I want to put in my sign off. Notice I have not put an enter or return in. I've got my cursor at the end here. I go up to Quick Parts. There it is. I click on it, and it's placed it in on its own paragraph. Isn't that just gorgeous? It's really nice if you've got clients that you write to regularly, and particularly if you're dealing with departments, whereas a lot of the names would be in Irish, etc. It's lovely to have all that written up, and you can just drop it into your document. So just to show you, if I delete that again, if I have my cursor down here, I have pressed enter, and I go to Quick Parts, it's not going to throw another enter in. It's intelligent enough to realize it is on a separate paragraph. Now, what happens if I want to change that? There is no ability to modify a quick part. What you have to do is you have to save it again over itself. So I'm going to pretend that I want to put that to bold for whatever reason, and that's the way that I want my signature to be now. So I have to go through the process again. I highlight it. I'm on the Insert tab. I go to Quick Parts, and I save selection to Quick Part Gallery, just as I did before. The trick now is to give it the exact same name. So I'm giving it the same name. Everything else needs to be exactly the same. And again, I'm going to tell it to insert in its own paragraph, and I'm going to click OK. And now it'll say to me, do you want to redefine the building block entry? And I'm going to say yes. So I'll just delete that off. And just so you can see that if I come back up to Quick Parts now, it is the one with the bold. So I'll just click on it there. It's no longer the old one. It's the one with the bold in it, the latest one that I've put in. So that's how to create Quick Parts, and I really would advise everybody to do that. It's such a lovely, lovely feature. So that's my time. It has run out again on us. Thank you very much for being with me today, and I hope you're going to come back again tomorrow for the final session. Thank you.